ourselves in what we are today. He was central in agitating for multipartyism, and as we each know, when his tenure as president ended, he peacefully transitioned out of office, setting an example for all others to follow. I can unreservedly say that we should all strive to emulate Mwai Kibaki, particularly as it relates to the shunning of menaces like tribalism that plague our nation and unnecessarily divides us. Like him, those of us in governance should devote ourselves to leadership that offers indiscriminate service to all. Today, in accepting that every soul shall taste death, and indeed that even good men must die, my heartfelt condolences go to the late president's family, and in particular, his children, Judy Wanjiku, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagai, and Tony Gethenji, the extended family, and all his loved ones. My sympathy also extends to His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta and the great people of Nyeri who are anguished in mourning, but not least to all Kenyans on his immense loss. The late president may be gone, but his rich legacy, one that is entrenched in the countrywide infrastructure and countless other contributions, lives on. May God rest the late President Mwai Kibaki in eternal peace.
Very good. That's a personal statement from the Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, who served as the Minister for ICT under the late President Mwai Kibaki's government, or from 2005 to 2007. And what most of us do not know is that their friendship actually dates back to before the year 1992, when President Mwai Kibaki was vying to be to succeed President Moi the late. And so I want to hear from you. I mean, you have known the late president, for quite a long time. How did you relate with him?
Let me start by saying that the late President Mwai Kibaki was always a father figure to us. His age was such that he was almost in fact, he was my father's age. And consequently, in our relationship with him, way back to when we were young people around the town, and he was then the finance minister in the government of late President Moi, he was a man we all admired as we grew up. And as young yuppies, as young men in Nyeri, we used to go to Nyeri Club, where we would find him and greet him and admire him for the way he held himself and the way he worked. When he launched the Democratic Party, some of us, I was then working for the Standard newspaper, I volunteered to work as his PR. I remember working on his posters. I remember organizing for his photography on top of what is now Integrity House for the presidential poster that we were eventually printing at Caraprint and following up there with Gengi Muigai to see that it was printed. So for us, he represented aspiration. We really wanted to be like him, and in doing so, he led us in a very calm way. As I said, he symbolizes tolerance. He symbolized humility, and it is no wonder then that those of us, including current President Uhuru, really admired and liked the way that Kibaki led us.
Mm-hmm. But you see, Kenyans, when Kenyans came to know a president who was what we'd call a very reserved person, somebody who was very measured in his words, was the late president always like that, even the time that you got to know him?
He was always very calm and very, very friendly and very, very easy, to deal with and to talk to. And as I say, perhaps for the older people, his own generation might have known him differently from the way we knew him. But for us, we were always easy around him because that's the demeanor that that he had for us. And even the way he spoke to us and the way he tolerated sometimes us is a manner that we cannot, we cannot forget. Every person, every leader has a different leadership style. His style was the one of easy, an easy style that sometimes would move from English to easy Swahili. I remember way back when I was getting a bit frustrated as Minister for ICT with the way to implement the fiber optic cable, and I went to him and I said, I'm getting frustrated. So-and-so doesn't want us to build a fiber. So-and-so is scared of us opening up. And he looks at me and he says, wajua, sio kukataa tunakataa. Unafikiri tunajua hiyo kitu ni nini? Sisi hatujui. Hii ndio sababu unaona sisi tukifanya kelele. Lakini si wewe unajua, wewe unaelewa. Basi wewe si ufanye. Kama wewe unajua, wewe fanya. Sisi hatuelewi hiyo kitu. So he had this way of when a complex issue, when we face complex issues, he had a way of breaking it down to a very simple way and just express it away in Swahili, and that was the end of the matter. But I think that to the point, his tolerance is, to me, is what brought Kenya, to the point that we are as a very democratic nation, perhaps the most democratic nation in Africa. And it was during his time that people started saying all sorts of things about a president. And he wasn't, bothered. And I think from there, as you can see, even today, when people talk about President Uhuru, he's also not bothered. So it has become a culture. If you abuse a president, if you abuse a minister, we are used to it now. It's a culture. And we take it easy because that's where we picked it from. He was a gentleman at heart.
How was President Kibaki's social life?
Well, he enjoyed life. President Kibaki enjoyed life. The retro we knew of him, as I said, he was like a father figure to us. But every time we joined him socially, he was always very educative. If you sat with President Kibaki, you came out of there having learned something. It doesn't matter whether it was a political issue, it doesn't matter whether it was a social issue, but essentially, he was very entertaining. As on a one-to-one, he was very entertaining, and he was a lot more outgoing than when he was, in his official capacity.
And now you're working in an office whereby the late president actually operated from 1988 to 1991 when Kibaki was the Minister for Health. What do people around here say about him?
It's the same thing all over the place. If you go to the Ministry of Finance, if you come here to the Ministry of Health, where the late president worked, it's the same admiration. You never hear criticism about his style. You always hear people admiring him. He was fair. He was not a tribal person. But most of all, he was not petty. He didn't agree, to be brought down to a petty level where you talk about petty subjects. In fact, if you went to him and he started backbiting somebody else, he would very easily change the subject into something, to discuss something else. So he hated pettiness, and in a way, because he was a very intellectual person, he could easily resolve big issues and small issues at the same time, and not leave you feeling, that you are a small person. And he really treated people very well, equally.
So when you came into the Ministry of Information, that was in 2005, the world never knew any concept or innovation called mobile money. And it is during Kibaki's tenure that the world came to realize that people can send money from one person to the other using their mobile phone. Tell us more about that innovation and what role did the president play in realizing that dream?
Well, there are two things in connection with mobile money. First is the building of the infrastructure that can allow, for mobile money, and that can allow for the kind of communication that we do today, and as cheaply as we do today, in terms of implementation of the construction of a fiber optic cable. And I still remember, being out in the UAE and being unable to find where our fiber optic cable was going to land in Fujairah. And I asked Ambassador Hussein, who was then serving, I said, Hussein, how do we get the government of UAE to agree for Kenya to connect its fiber optic cable here? And he said, if you can get a letter from President Kibaki and to the Lura of Dubai, then we can get this show done. And I picked up my phone. I telephoned Ipu, who was then serving as in President Kibaki's State House Comptroller, and I said to him, I need to talk to the president, because Kibaki did not carry a phone around with him. I need to talk to the president, and he said, okay, and he walked to his office, and he says, huko iko namna gani? And I said, hapa ni joto mzee, lakini iko joto ingine nataka usaidizi. And I explained to him that I needed a letter from him. And he said, that letter, nani atalete? So I explained to him that, PS Bitange Demo was going to pick up the letter from him and bring it to Fujairah. That's how, to Dubai. That's how we got the Fujairah connection. Without him, it would never have been possible. And then came the launch of the M-Pesa. Remember, there was a lot of debate around M-Pesa, that how can Safaricom hold money for people when it is not a bank? So do they need a banking license? But they can't get a banking license because they are not a bank. Yeah. So then, the catch-22 situation. And when we explained it, both myself and Kimunya, who was then finance minister, and we explained to him, he said, listen, technology, we will never be able to make laws for technology before it comes. You can only make laws for technology once it has come. And consequent to which, let's go ahead. He approved that we go ahead with the launch of M-Pesa. And as we go on, we will appreciate what needs to be done, for the control and management of M-Pesa. Again, without him, it would never have been done.
And finally, when you launched the M-Pesa services at the Serena Hotel, what was his reaction when you sent money to a secondary school, and when Finance Minister Amos Kimunya also sent money? I don't know who he sent to.
I can't remember, but I know we were the first two people to send money anywhere on earth. Yes.
How was his reaction?
He was amused. He was very amused. When we told him we have just sent money on the mobile, and I said, kweli, mumefanya hiyo? Oh, that's wonderful. That's how he used to express himself when he's very happy. He would say, oh, that's wonderful. So, and he was so happy that Kenya had set history. We had set standards for the rest of the world in being the first country on earth, to have a mobile money transfer. So he was just happy and excited about it.
And, also talking about the teams, when that fiber optic cable was landing here in Kenya, and I remember him in Mombasa where he said that, this was the beginning of ICT revolution in Kenya. Why was he so ecstatic about?
Because he understood. I think it is because he understood. The thing about leadership is understanding a concept, not necessarily understanding the technical details, but understanding the conceptualization of it all. And I think that once President Kibaki realized what the impact was going to be and the new Kenya that was going to be transformed as a result of new technologies, particularly the fiber optic cable, That's why he was in Mombasa. That's why he went to launch this thing, because that's the fiber link. That's where the fiber landed in Mombasa. So that's why he got so involved, and that's why he would ask all the time, how are we doing? Are we making good progress? Is it happening? Has it landed? And so on and so forth. What challenges are we having? So it is easy, and with the wisdom of hindsight, without his involvement, and honestly, without his trust, because the other thing is that you have to trust. Without the way he trusted us, I don't think that we would have done it. Trust and support is what made it happen.
And, when you left, of course, cabinet, that was in 2009. I mean, that is 2007.
And 2008.
2008. Yeah. Did you continue interacting with the president?
We did. I did, because soon after I left his cabinet, he appointed me as the chairman of the Multimedia University Council, and told me to go and build a university that was going to impact in terms of human capital for the ICT sector. And I think today you will believe me, and it is true, that the Multimedia University remains a key ingredient into the media space, into the technology space, and into maintenance and growth of the ICT sector.
And when he left office in 2013, did you also keep contact?
Yes, we did. I mean, we would meet occasionally in very many functions, but don't forget at that time he was also resting. But on many occasions, when he would be in Nyeri, when he would be in functions, when he would be in church functions, we would meet and and engage each other. So for me, it is the loss of a mentor, and I think for Kenyans, it is really the loss of a great leader. But he wasn't just a leader just for Kenya, or for that matter for Nyeri. He was a leader for East Africa. He was admired person across the globe. And let's not forget that he was first admired not even because of his presidency, but of his knowledge of the economy, his understanding of economics and what a nation can be as a result of economic leadership. So for us, I think, for us in my generation, and those of us who worked under President Kibaki, I think is a great loss. You feel like a little part of you, and a little part of your leadership vision is gone. And then you ask yourself, now that has happened, we have always looked at the age group of the Mwai Kibaki. There was the others who have passed on. And you ask yourself, now that they are gone, who are we looking at? And then suddenly you look behind you and you see you look ahead of you and you see there's nobody. And the realization that you are the wazees now, is one that is scary, but it is one that also comes with responsibility. And for us to emulate and lead in a manner that was set for us as a standard, as a yardstick on which we must all reach. And I think that we can be proud of his products. That is the one thing I would like to add. We can be proud of what one might call the Mwai Kibaki products. And the Mwai Kibaki products include the current leadership, includes President Uhuru Kenyatta, it includes ourselves, it includes the opposition, some of the members in the opposition, some of the members in parliament. And for us who are his products, is a question of emulating and practicing what he did practice.
At the cabinet level, how was President Mwai Kibaki when dealing with his cabinet ministers or when chairing cabinet meetings?
Well, he was, as I said, he had this father figure, and I can't help repeating that, because that's what really comes to mind every time I think of him. But the thing is that he gave you as much leeway as you needed. He gave you recall on a couple of occasions when I think, I can't remember which minister was complaining that he has not seen him. He has not been able to see the president, and he is serving under the government. And you remember that story where he then called him in and said, yes, you want to see me? Yes, okay, what do you want? And the gentleman explained, I need to do this. This is nuclear, this. The other one is that production of this energy, and the other one. And he says, okay, so what do you want me to do? And he says, well, I just wanted to hear what you have, how you think we should do it. And he says, what makes you think I know? Si wewe ndio unafanya hiyo kazi. Si ufanye. So when he gave you a job, he expected you to go and do it. All right? And that idea that when you're given a job, go do it, is something that continues. It is something that has continued on into this generation and into this government and in President Uhuru as well. Because once President Uhuru gives you a job, he expects you to go and do it. So this is something that perhaps has grown from Kibaki and follows us, and perhaps even future leadership will be the same as a result of that experience.
So when he left office, of course, he started keeping a low profile. Of course, age was catching up with him. When was the last time you had a conversation with him?
It has been a while, because he was also ailing over time, and on a couple of occasions we wanted to go and see him, and also be with him a little bit, but he was also ailing. And of course, the first thing to do in a situation like that is to protect somebody. Then obviously there was COVID came, and the last thing that you want to do is to go and expose an ailing person to anything of the sort. What I can say is that to the end, at least until the last times that we saw him, he was always very welcoming, with always a sort of a shrewd smile, on his face, like, I know something that you don't. Smile, and that's how we remember him, and that's how I will remember him.
And, what was his feeling about, the direction that Kenya took after he left office and after he gave the reins of leadership to President Uhuru Kenyatta?
I think to me, the feeling that I would probably think he had is one of satisfaction. He was very satisfied, and he was very happy that he had handed over the reins of government to somebody who he knew, and somebody who he knew was able. I think that's for me, that's the feeling that I got that he had.
That's the feeling.
That's the feeling I got that he had. He was happy that he had handed it over to somebody who he knew, was able to carry on. And he was proved right.
Do you know of any Kibaki's regrets?
Sorry?
Do you know of any?
I obviously I wouldn't know, because, as I said, we didn't share. He was, the age gap was such that we didn't share, personal issues of that sort of nature.
If you were to describe the late president in one or two words, how would you describe him?
A humble man of God.
Humble.
He was not a priest. He was not a preacher, but he was a humble man of God.
What are you going to miss about the late president?
I think just the knowledge that he's not around, that you can say, at a personal level, for example, I can't call Jimmy or Judy and say, hey, we want to go and see Mzee. The fact that you can't do that is sad. It's really sad. Yeah. And I really want to, just wish the members of his family, who I know well, I really wish them well, and I hope that God gives them strength to overcome this very sad period.
What is this attribute that you carry along, that you borrowed or that you learned from the president?
I wish I had his tolerance. I wish I had, his level of tolerance. But then again, I am a different person. That's what he had. That is what God gave him. And we all try, and we all keep trying to emulate what he had. Not all of us are given the same things, and not all of us are the same. So for you, it is for you to know what you most admire in another person that you probably don't have yourself. And I think that is what is called humility.
And, as we come to the end of this interview, how should we honor the late president going forward? And how should we, as a country, keep the desires of the late president going forward?
I think if we live for the country, if we ask ourselves, like President Kennedy once did, ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I think President Kibaki wanted us to do something for ourselves, but he wanted us to do something for the country. If you can wake up and do something for Kenya, you will have emulated the late President Mwai Kibaki.
Anything else?
No.
Very good. Thank you very much for your insight. Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best. And
thank you.
Sorry for the loss of a friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, that's held Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe joining us also to share his side of the late President Mwai Kibaki, how they interacted, how he knew the man, and what kind of a boss he was, and what obviously he would have wished for this country. And of course, we have heard it from him. We'll continue to sample some of the views of Kenya's political, religious, as well as economic leaders on what they know and what they remember about President Mwai Kibaki, who passed on today. Well, back to you, Broadcasting House.
All right, that is O'Brien Kimani there, coming to us after just speaking to the Health Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Mutahi Kagwe, just speaking about what he remembers about the country's third president, His Excellency Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki, whose death was announced by the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, today. And of course, from what we've gathered is like the CS, Mutahi Kagwe really had very close relationship with the third president of the country. He says that, Mwai Kibaki was somebody who taught him a lot, not just as his cabinet minister. Remember, he served under the government of Mwai Kibaki as the minister for ICT. So Kagwe there saying that he learned a lot during this time, but also at the time when Mwai Kibaki appointed him as the chair of Multimedia University Council. But of course, it was during this time that also M-Pesa was launched, and we have had the CS there sharing light moments about how the former president was elated by this particular move, and of course just hailed the milestones that the country had taken at that particular time. Quite interesting how he reacted to the fact that the CS Mutahi Kagwe was among the very first people who sent money outside the country using this particular platform. But of course, during this particular time also, he has termed Mwai Kibaki as somebody who was seen as a father figure in how he related with the people who served under him during that particular time. Just to take you through some of the highlights and the moments there that the CS shares as he remembers the passing, the life of President Mwai Kibaki, the late, and he says that he was actually somebody who was central in agitating multi-partyism, and of course has something that should be emulated as to how he, exited from presidency. Kagwe there saying that his exemplary exit from presidency is something to be remembered, and also what Mwai Kibaki did, in the words of the CS there, he shunned tribalism and anything that would divide Kenyans. So he has spoke very passionately there, on things that Kenyans should emulate going forward. But let me just take you through something that will be happening now from today going forward. After that presidential proclamation, what next in the journey to inter the former president of the Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, earlier when he gave the proclamation following the death of the third president of the country, directed that the nation is going forward to observe a period of national mourning beginning today until sunset of the day of the interment of former President Mwai Kibaki. The head of state also directed that President Mwai Kibaki shall be accorded a state funeral with full military honors and protocols being rendered and observed. And of course, he also directed that the flag of the Republic of Kenya beginning today is going to be flown at half-mast at State House and all Kenyan diplomatic missions, public buildings, public grounds, all military bases, posts and stations and naval vessels of the Republic of Kenya and elsewhere throughout the entire territory of the Republic of Kenya from today until sunset on the day of the interment of former President Mwai Kibaki. And of course, also just a final directive there from the head of state is that all the people who are accorded the privilege of flying the national flag on their motorcade, including the Deputy President, the Chief Justice, Cabinet Secretaries, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Speaker of the Senate, Kenya's diplomats abroad, are going from today, not going to fly the national flag on the official motorcade as just a part of ways to express that the country is in a season of mourning. But just a few minutes ago, let me take you through an update that we have received concerning these burial arrangements. The National Funeral Steering Committee has released information with regarding to this, and I'll just take you through that. Following the issuance of the presidential proclamation on the passing of the former President Mwai Kibaki, it is most graciously notified that the National Funeral Steering Committee has been constituted already, featuring representatives from the government and members of the third president's family. And of course, the committee will convene tomorrow for its inaugural meeting and will in due course issue a detailed program of events leading up to the state funeral. The program of events shall include the dates and venues where the family shall receive visitors and shall accord all Kenyans the opportunity to participate in paying last respects to the former head of state and government. And of course, the family of the late Mwai Kibaki acknowledges the outpouring sympathy and condolences messages being received from all corners of the globe. This is a statement that has been signed by the head of public service, Joseph K. Kinyua. As we receive any new information, we'll be updating you as we continue with this particular broadcast. But for now, we just want to also just take you back to the life and times of the former president as it was captured in pictures. Have a look. All right, so as we continue to mourn the country's third president and the first opposition president of the country, I'll just take you through a bit of reactions on social media. The official Twitter handle of the ODM party, arguably the best president of Arguably the best president Kenya ever had. Cool, humorous, hardworking and focused, President Mwai Kibaki will be remembered for initiating economic and infrastructural transformation and ensuring the completion of the constitution reforms process. Go well, Kiongozi. Rest in peace, Mzee Kibaki. That is on the Twitter handle of the ODM party. And of course, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, they are saying it is with profound shock that Let me just take you through that. That is Baringo Senator Gideon Moi mourning the death of Mwai Kibaki, saying it is with profound shock that I have learned the death of Honorable Mwai Kibaki, the third President of the Republic of Kenya. President Kibaki will be remembered for steering the country into economic prosperity during his tenure from 2003 to 2013. And now we have more on what other leaders had to say concerning this huge loss for the country, led by the Deputy President William Ruto. Have a look.
From this forum, where we are discussing the economy of our country, we pay tribute to our third president, President Mwai Kibaki, an outstanding economist, a man who has distinguished himself with a great legacy that he has left behind, an accomplished Kenyan, a man who we all respect as our third president, a person almost all of us here worked with as his ministers. Today, as Kenya, we have lost a great son of our country.
Emilio Mwai Kibaki, our third and best president the Republic of Kenya has had, has left us. We all feel the gap, the loss, and share in the sense of pain with his family. Distinguished right from Makerere University as an economist and a teacher, Mwai Kibaki scaled the heights of Kenyan politics from the humility of the executive officer of the then ruling party to rise to be one of the finest finance ministers of this country and then the best president that we have had.
All right, that is Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula and the Deputy President William Ruto joining leaders in mourning the death of the country's third president Mwai Kibaki. And of course, also on social media, presidential aspirant Reuben Kigami saying the greatest president of the Republic of Kenya this far has rested. Long live his legacy. May I be found worthy to build on it. Rest in peace, Your Excellency Mwai Kibaki. NYS Director General Matilda Sakwa says, my heartfelt condolences to the family and loved ones of the former president, His Excellency Honorable Mwai Kibaki, CGH, on his passing. Kenya has indeed lost a great leader. Rest in peace, Kibaki. And of course, not just leaders who are mourning the death of Mwai Kibaki. Kenyans also remember him for the role that he played in changing the narrative and the lifestyle of the public. And of course, we just want to cross over to Narok County to listen into what some of the residents had to say soon after the news of Kibaki's death broke.
Mimi napenda tu kukumbuka Kibaki kama mtu ambaye alianza kuipenda amani sana. Tunakumbuka 2007 and 2008 siku ile kulikuwa na msukosuko kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kibaki alianza kusalimiana na Raila, wakaanza kugawa mkate nusu. Kibaki akawa ni president, Raila akawa ni prime minister. Sasa mimi nakumbuka Kibaki kwa hali.
Kibaki ni mtu alitoa vitu mingi sana ya Kenya kutengeneza. Alitengeneza uchumi ya Kenya, alileta CDA, pikipiki kwa vijana. Alifanya kazi mzuri sana, masomo ya manyumba ya mawe, alijenga mashule. Tunakumbuka Mzee Kibaki sana, alifanya kazi ya maana sana. Alitusaidia kwa kilimo zaidi, kwa fertilizer alijaribu kwenda juu na akateremsha zaidi. Sasa sisi wakulima ya Kenya tulisaidiwa zaidi.
Alicreate employment kwa kuleta kwa pikipiki kwa vijana na akabadilisha mashule, akatengeneza hii KSF projects, akajenga manyumba ya mawe na CDF introduction.
All right, so those are some of the residents of Narok County just sharing their messages of condolences, following the passing on of the late President Mwai Kibaki. And of course, just to let you know that as we speak, a committee has already been constituted to go ahead with the plans to inter the former head of state. And just to take you through a press release that has just landed to us, this is a program leading up to the state funeral of President Mwai Kibaki, and it goes on to say, following the issuance of the presidential proclamation on the passing on of President Mwai Kibaki, it is most graciously notified that a national funeral steering committee has been constituted that is featuring representatives from the government and members of the third president's family. Now, this committee is going to convene tomorrow for its first meeting and will in due course issue a detailed program of events leading up to the state funeral. The program of events shall include the dates and venues where the family shall be receiving visitors and shall accord all Kenyans the opportunity to also participate in paying the last respect to the former head of state. So there you have it. Tomorrow, the first meeting that will give the way forward on the plans for the interment. And in the meantime, the family of the late Mwai Kibaki acknowledges the outpouring sympathy and condolences messages received from all corners of the globe. The statement goes on to say, during this period, of mourning and grief, the family is finding strength in the goodwill, thoughts and prayers of all those grieving the passing on of Kenya's third president. This statement has been signed by Joseph Kinyua, the head of public service. And of course, you can also be part of this and continue sending in your messages as the country mourns somebody that has been eulogized as a statesman. And I just want to take you through more about why this is such a huge loss for the country. Former President Mwai Kibaki, before he became the president, he served as the fourth vice president of the country for 10 years, from 1978 to 1988. And of course, before then, we saw him also hold several ministerial positions in both former President Jomo Kenyatta's and Daniel Arap Moi's governments. He served as the Minister for Finance from 1969 to 1981. He also served as the Minister for Home Affairs from 1982 to 1988, and of course also served as the Minister for Health from 1988 to 1991. But aside from that, he has also served as a Member of Parliament from 1992 to the year 2002. But something also that stands out about who Kibaki was is the fact that he had a desire to lead this country as the president, a desire that saw him vie in 1992 and 1997, though he was not successful. But his success came in the year 2002, where he was sworn in after being elected as the president of the country. He served this country as the head of state from the year 2002 to 2013. But before that, many do not know, who Kibaki was before his entry into politics. So before we take you into his early life, Mwai Kibaki actually never dreamt of becoming the third president of Kenya, if his background is anything to go by. And of course, we trace his roots as a son of Kikuyu peasant farmers in the former Nyeri district of Central Province, which is now Nyeri County, whose academic brilliance propelled him to prestigious learning institutions both locally and internationally, and later served as an assistant lecturer at Makerere University prior to joining politics. Here is a story that takes you into his early life.
Well, we used to sell about 10% of our total.
He was born on 15th November 1931 in Dunguri village, Othaya division in the then Nyeri district of Central Province, now Nyeri County. His parents, Kibaki Gavanji and Teresia Wanjiku, were peasant farmers. Even though he was baptized as Emilio Stanley by Italian missionaries in his youth, he has always been known as Mwai Kibaki. He began his academic journey at Gatuyaini School, which he attended for the first 2 years, completing what was then called Sub-A and Sub-B, equivalent of Grade 1 and Grade 2. He would later join Karima Mission School for the 3 more classes of primary, and between 1944 and 1946, he proceeded to Mathari School, now Nyeri High School, for standard 4 to 6. Aside from his academic prowess, he acquired skills in carpentry, masonry, and agriculture. He joined Mangu High School in 1947 and passed his O-level examination with a maximum of 6 points in 1950. In his final year in Mangu, Kibaki considered becoming a soldier, perhaps inspired by the veterans of the First and Second World Wars in his native village. He, however, opted to shelve his ambition and instead joined Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, to study economics, history, and political science. His academic brilliance saw him graduate best in his class in 1955 with a first-class honors degree in economics. After his graduation, he took up an appointment as Assistant Sales Manager, Shell Company of East Africa, Uganda Division. It was while working there that he earned a scholarship to pursue a postgraduate studies in any British university. He joined the prestigious London School of Economics for a BSc in Public Finance, graduating with a distinction. In 1958, he went back to Makerere University, this time as an assistant lecturer, and taught in the economics department. In early 1960, Kibaki left academia for active politics by giving up his job at Makerere and returning to Kenya to begin his journey into politics as the executive officer of Kenya African National Union Party. In 1961, Kibaki married Lucy Muthoni, a daughter of a church minister who was then a secondary school head teacher. The couple was blessed with 4 children: Judy Wanjiku, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagai, and Tony Githinji. Lucy, however, died on 26th of April 2016 at 80 years at Boomer Cromwell Hospital in London after a brief hospitalization at the Nairobi Hospital for chest pains. He was a committed member of the Roman Catholic Church and attended mostly Sunday afternoon services at the Consolata Shrines Catholic Church in Nairobi. He enjoyed playing golf and was a member of the Mudhaiga Golf Club. Indeed, and may his soul continue to rest in peace. Bernard Masiko on Facebook, streaming live on our KBC Channel 1 page there. You say, my condolences to the entire family. May his soul rest in peace. And of course, you call him legend, and you add there a crying emoji. Pamenaz Bongez, you say, rest in peace, our former president. And Rogan Makosh, you say, honorable rest in peace. And of course, we continue to take in some of your reactions on social media as we mourn this particular legend, somebody who has played a key role in changing the history of the country. Let me just take you through, what the head of state had to say concerning the legacy of the late President Mwai Kibaki. And of course, just in leading the country, in mourning him, the head of state said, as a leading figure in Kenya's post-independence history, Mwai Kibaki earned the abiding respect and affection of the people of this nation and other nations throughout the world. President Kibaki will be forever remembered as the gentleman of Kenyan politics and a brilliant debater whose eloquence, wit, and charm won the day time and time again. And of course, also looking at the time that, President Mwai Kibaki also championed for multi-party democracy. President Uhuru Kenyatta said, believing that Kenya was once ripe for vibrant multi-party democracy, President Kibaki exited from government and led the charge in keeping the ruling party accountable. His contributions to the restoration of multi-party democracy as the leader of the official opposition, combined with his track record and impressive credentials, made Mwai Kibaki the natural choice for selection as the opposition's consensus candidate against my own candidature in 2002 presidential election. We saw that earlier clip we played for you when Mwai Kibaki, the later president, was being sworn in when he took over power on 30th December the year 2002 and served as the head of state and government until 9th April 2013. I just want to take you through more of what we are receiving as messages of condolences, regarding the loss of Mwai Kibaki, and just allow me to sample through some of them that we are receiving, as we speak. Let me take you to what the Chief Justice Martha Koome had to say. Let me just take you through that. The judiciary of the Republic of Kenya joins the entire nation and indeed the world in mourning His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, retired President of the Republic of Kenya, who passed on earlier today. I wish to convey sincere condolences to the entire Kibaki family, relatives, friends, and the people of Kenya. President Kibaki was a reformist under the leadership of the 2010 Constitution, and of course also the departed statesman will be remembered for his unique leadership style, which endured him to many. And of course, it's a statement there that was released today, soon after the news of the passing on of former President was broke. And of course, presidential aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi, who is vying under the Safina Party, also shared his message saying, the late His Excellency President Mwai Kibaki will be remembered as the greatest president we've ever had. It is a very dark day for Kenya. We have lost one of our best and our hearts are broken. And of course, he goes ahead to say, we must try and bring back the feeling of pride in our country and government that is in the intention of what he says his presidency, of course. And of course, we continue to receive some of your tweets, even on Facebook as well. So you can continue to engage us on social media at KBC Channel 1, just so we can also share your thoughts and insights on what you remember about the country's third president whose death was announced today. We want to cross over to Kisumu County also to get to hear what residents of that county had to say concerning this death.
Zunika sana kwa kifo ya aliyekuwa president wa maana wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Bwana Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki naomba Mungu amweke mahali peponi, sababu huyu jamaa alikuwa kiongozi wa Kenya, na wakati wa enzi yake tuliona kama Wakenya wamefaidika sana kimaendeleo. Tuliona mambo makuu aliyafanya akiwa uongozini hapa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Aliteuliwa mwaka wa 2002, vile mnavyojua wa Kenya wote tulimchagua kama kiongozi ambapo angeleta demokrasia kwa enzi yake. Wakenya walimchagua na alitekeleza mambo mengi sana tunavyojua. Aliunda mabarabara, tuliona airport, yani hii penye mandege inatua, nyingi ilijengwa, na tuliona uchumi wa Kenya pia ikapanda juu, na tuliona tena mambo zingine kama kitu kama corruption. Alijaribu kufanya nini? Kuirudisha chini kiasi.
Kwa siku ya leo tuko na huzuni na tunaomboleza rais wetu wa 3 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tunasema pole kwa familia na kwa taifa ya Kenya kwa kupoteza rais wetu, rais ambayo alikuwa rais wa mzalendo, aliyojenga taifa yetu ya Kenya na aliyofanya mambo mengi ya maana ambayo amewacha Kenya, na sisi kama Wakenya tuna huzuni na tunapeana pole kwa familia yake na kwa Wakenya wote kwa sababu ya rais wetu wa 3 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tunaomba Mungu aweke moyo wake mahali pema peponi.
Majina naitwa Nasur Suleiman Biringi. Natoa rambirambi zangu za dhati kwa hayati Baba Mwai Emilio Kibaki. Rais Kibaki ni rais ambaye hatutamsahau kwa mioyo yetu. Manake ni rais ambaye tangu hatima yake alifufua uchumi wa nchi, akaleta uthabiti katika hali ya kisiasa, na ni rais ambaye tunamkumbuka kwa kuwa mpole, si rais wa mambo mengi, lakini tulikuwa tukimuona vitendo, na ni rais kweli alifanya mengi katika nchi, kuleta elimu ya bure, kuchangamoto katika hali ya afya, miundo misingi. Kwa hayo tunasema tu tunamwombea Mungu amlaze mahali pema peponi, na ni mafunzo kwa wale waliobaki viongozi kuwa waweze kumhimidi ama waweze emulate Kibaki, manake amefanya mengi kwa wakati mchache na hakuwahi kutaka kujionyesha.
The late Mzee has played a great vital role in Kenya here, especially during the devolution. He has brought devolution, he has brought free and primary education and secondary education. He has opened some of institutions. Some of institutions were, it has converted to the university and they were institution. During the Mzee has played so many things, and we really appreciate whatever he has done in Kenya here. He's a great hero, and may God rest his peace in the name of God.
All right, that is from Kisumu County. Residents there sharing their messages of condolences following the death of former President Mwai Kibaki. We'll be doing this as we continue with this broadcast, taking you to different parts of the country, also sampling your views on social media. In a bit, I'll be taking you through a statement by Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga and also other leaders. But very quickly, we have something that would jog your mind a little bit. A clip of former President Mwai Kibaki way back in 1979. During this time, he was serving as the Minister of Finance. This was at one of a fundraising event. Let's just take you through that. Have a look. Okay, so this was in 1979. At that time, the late Mwai Kibaki was serving as the Minister for Finance. And of course, like we told you, he has held several ministerial positions, also served as the Minister for Home Affairs and the Minister for Health. For Home Affairs, he served from 1982 to 1988, and from 88 to 1991, he served the country as the Minister for Health. And of course, those who worked with him remember him for so many things. I'd just like to take you through a statement by the Raila Odinga Presidential Secretariat following the death of Mwai Kibaki, and it goes ahead to say, as president, Mwai Kibaki was in his best element whenever an issue came up in cabinet that brought to the fore the intersection between politics, public policy and service delivery. And of course, on such occasions, whether in cabinet or committee discussions, President Kibaki would allow full debate, taking in all shades of opinion on the matter. At such times, he would merge his long career in politics with his rich academic background and assume the position of a listener. And this statement, remember some light moments in cabinet there, going ahead to say, and when he resorted to his signature, oh yes, you would be clear that he had detected the point of action, what needed to be implemented or where the problem was. And whenever he came to that OAS moment, the statement says, you would not convince him otherwise. This is how he was able to buy fairly quickly into the idea that we would implement free primary education in Kenya at a time others doubted. That is how he began the process of ending decades of marginalization of northern Kenya and opening it up through investment in infrastructure. I recall the early morning, this is a statement from Right Honorable Raila Odinga. I recall early morning discussion with him at a State House about northern Kenya ahead of a full cabinet meeting. I was pushing the idea that most parts of Kenya developed because of railway line, and that as president, the best he could do to our country was to extend it northwards. I did not have to explain further. Why don't we do it? He asked. Just like that, NAC and later the Grand Coalition government evolved a policy that development project northwards, particularly via infrastructure. And of course, it's a statement that just highlights some of the moments that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga shared when he worked with now the fallen icon Mwai Kibaki, as we continue to mourn his death. We have there Dr. Isaac Kalua, who is the party leader of the Green Movement Party. Former President Mwai Kibaki was a great leader, my mentor, and a friend who believed and led in sustainable development. May God comfort his family and friends and our nation. #Kenya. And of course, we continue to invite your feedback on social media following the death of Mwai Kibaki. As those of you who are streaming online, we are seeing your comments there. Just allow me to sample some that we are receiving on our Twitter handle. This is one from let me just sample some of, we have one, Chitai Murabula. You say President Mwai Kibaki was a listening president. When doctors went on strike on 5th of December 2011, the president listened and granted most of our demands. We ended the strike within 7 days and doctors went back to work. May his legacy continue to live on. And Ndiritu David, you say Mwai Kibaki, one of the best sons of this soil. You served this country with great dedication, wisdom and integrity. Because of you, many of us would have never seen a classroom door and got a free primary education. We will fondly remember you. Rest in peace. And of course, we have Helen Gatuku. You say healthcare provision was top in former President Mwai Kibaki's agenda and was entrenched in the Vision 2030. Through President Uhuru, the same is becoming a reality. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And of course, we continue to invite more of your feedback on social media. I'm just trying to go through some of them that you've already received. Mheshimiwa K, you say, all right, that one I may not read here. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I just want to take you through more that our news team has been working on for you. So many remember Mwai Kibaki as the head of state, and of course, they also remember him in the various positions he served in government, and also he's being a champion of the multi-party democracy. But during this season, there were those light moments that we experienced courtesy of his humorous side, his witty side, when he took to the podium to give his speech. There was that light moment that any person who was listening to him expected. And we just sampled some of the key highlights of speeches we got from what Mwai Kibaki did. And this is what we have for you. Have a look.
The high premium Mwai Kibaki placed on education was exemplified by how he emphatically pushed for free primary education. This he began as an election campaign pledge and fulfilled it soon after being sworn in as Kenya's third president.
Ni lazima tuwe na bidii ya kufanya.
As a former finance minister, he knew only too well the challenges brought by rapid population growth.
Viwanda vijengwe kote katika Kenya, na sio tu katika miji mikubwa ya Kenya vile Nairobi na Mombasa.
Still on responsible parenting, he cautioned the youth against excessive drinking.
I have no reason but to appeal to you. Please, do not yield to the field of drinking. I say this not because I don't drink, no, I do.
In politics, he was averse to the use of derogatory and abusive language in public.
If you just hang around and don't register, you are useless. No, true. You can't be useful. You can't be any use because you are not participating in the development of Kenya.
Kibaki was in many ways unlike his predecessor Daniel Moi, who was vocal on many issues of national importance.
I appeal to all political leaders and their supporters to engage in peaceful campaigns. Let us all remember that Kenya's collective destiny is far more important than the interest of any individual person or group.
He, however, on a few occasions seized the opportunity to set the record straight, as he did during the clamor by the proscribed Mombasa Republican Army to have the coast secede from Kenya.
Hakuna haja mtu yeyote awe ni nani au nani kujaribu kutuharibia nchi. Hakuna mtu ataweza hiyo. Wananchi wa Kenya wamejitoa na wako tayari, na hakuna mtu ambaye ni yeyote ambaye ataweza kuleta fujo katika nchi ya Kenya.
All right, I continue to sample some of your, messages. Njiru L on Twitter, you say Emilio Mwai Kibaki is arguably the best president that Kenya has had. Fare thee well. Rest in peace, Mzee Kibaki. Mark Njenga, you say rest in peace, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki. Job Machi, my condolences to the best, faithful and honest man, Honorable Mwai Kibaki. May your soul rest in peace. To the entire family, may God grant you peace and warmth during this period. Manga Hat, you say rest in peace, Mwai Kibaki. Mwakilishi Enoch, you say we eulogize an economic giant, a Democrat, the man who midwifed our constitution, and a true second liberation hero, the man whose legacy speaks for itself and loved by many. Rest in peace, Mwai Kibaki. You will not only live in our hearts and minds, but also in our books for generations to come. Keep sending your messages. We will be sampling more as they trickle in. But now we want to take you back to the time that this news broke. Of course, it got the country with a lot of, sorrow and shock when President Uhuru Kenyatta announced the passing of Mwai Kibaki, who served this country as the third head of state. He was the only surviving head of state who has passed on, and of course, all right. He was the only surviving former head of state who passed on, and the news of his passing on was announced today. But of course, many celebrate him for the great achievements that he got after his entry into politics. But many do not know the genesis of this particular story. And of course, we just want to take you back to when he was born in 1931 in Dunguri village of the now Nyeri County. This is what we compiled for you as part of his early life.
Well, We used to sell about 10% of our total.
He was born on 15th November 1931 in Dunguri village, Othaya division in the then Nyeri district of Central Province, now Nyeri County. His parents, Kibaki Gavanji and Teresia Wanjiku, were peasant farmers. Even though he was baptized as Emilio Stanley by Italian missionaries in his youth, he has always been known as Mwai Kibaki. He began his academic journey at Gatuyaini School, which he attended for the first 2 years, completing what was then called Sub-A and Sub-B, equivalent of Grade 1 and Grade 2. He would later join Karima Mission School for the 3 more classes of primary, and between 1944 and 1946, he proceeded to Madari School, now Nyeri High School, for Standard 4 to 6. Aside from his academic prowess, he acquired skills in carpentry, masonry, and agriculture. He joined Mangu High School in 1947 and passed his O-level examination with a maximum of 6 points in 1950. In his final year in Mangu, Kibaki considered becoming a soldier, perhaps inspired by the veterans of the First and Second World Wars in his native village. He, however, opted to shelve his ambition and instead joined Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, to study economics, history, and political science. His academic brilliance saw him graduate best in his class in 1955 with a first-class honors degree in economics. After his graduation, he took up an appointment as Assistant Sales Manager, Shell Company of East Africa, Uganda Division. It was while working there that he earned a scholarship to pursue a postgraduate studies in any British university. He joined the prestigious London School of Economics for a BSc in Public Finance, graduating with a distinction. In 1958, he went back to Makerere University, this time as an assistant lecturer, and taught in the economics department. In early 1960, Kibaki left academia for active politics by giving up his job at Makerere and returning to Kenya to begin his journey into politics as the executive officer of Kenya African National Union Party. In 1961, Kibaki married Lucy Muthoni, a daughter of a church minister who was then a secondary school head teacher. The couple was blessed with 4 children: Judy Wanjiku, Jimmy Kibaki, David Kagai, and Tony Githinji. Lucy, however, died on 26th of April 2016 at 80 years at Buma Cromwell Hospital in London after a brief hospitalization at the Nairobi Hospital for chest pains. He was a committed member of the Roman Catholic Church and attended mostly Sunday afternoon services at the Consolata Shrines Catholic Church in Nairobi. He enjoyed playing golf and was a member of the Mudhaiga Golf Club.
So
All right, and we continue to join the entire nation in mourning the death of former President Mwai Kibaki. And of course, we are just informing you that already plans for his interment have commenced. Tomorrow, the committee that has been constituted is having its first meeting, a committee that is going to bring together representatives from different departments in government and, of course, members of the family of the third president. And they're going to be giving the country the way forward on how this is going to be conducted. Is going to be accorded a state funeral. The date and the venue is going to be communicated as soon as the committee, have that particular meeting. But of course, the family at this particular time is appreciating the outpouring messages of condolences that are coming in from all corners of the world. But of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta earlier led the country in mourning President Mwai Kibaki, and we will be giving you more details about what he said and what other leaders are also saying, what Kenyans are saying, and what people remember as some of the things that Mwai Kibaki achieved in our comprehensive news bulletin that currently our news team is working on. But for now, I'd just like to hand you over back to normal programming. My name is Safin Achieng Ouma. Thank you so much for creating time to catch this broadcast.
Ili kupata mafuta kupanda kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 397 hash.
Nashukuru serikali kwa kuongeza bei ya mafuta. Sasa niko kwa highway na kuna traffic hata kidogo. Naomba serikali iendelee hivyo, tubaki tu watu ya gasla na heavy machine peke yake. Pia mimi naomba huyu serikali waseme kama gari